aspect of innovation has to be in every aspect of design and conducting ourselves as a community.
Anything and everything we design has to be simple for anyone and everyone to understand it.
I think the only inclusive space I can think of in India would be a cricket stadium.
Yeah.
That's the only time India comes together. It is technology which is available. It is technology which is the way forward.
A green building aspect should be brought into all the buildings uh, all the public buildings which are yet to be constructed.
And in terms of AI, I think for sure it's a tool that if we learn how to use it well, it's only a friend to us, actually, not really here to take our jobs.
As we move ahead, I welcome everyone to the first panel discussion of the day titled Innovation and Technology in Public Use Buildings. Innovation is inevitable, and so is the evolution of technology in architecture. At the same time, advancements in this field can also be far reaching and limitless in the Indian context. Large public projects serve people from all walks of life and require thorough research and thoughtful integration of technology to enhance the quality of life. Thus, incorporating modern innovations in community spaces and public buildings is crucial. Architects, designers, and other professionals work to merge technology with design, focusing on functionality, sustainability, and aesthetics. Through their efforts, these professionals push the boundaries of conventional design while ensuring that technology serves to improve rather than overshadow the essence of architecture. On this note, I welcome all the speakers of the panel discussion. So we have with us Akankshathapa from Archohm, Srikanthreddy from 23-degree Design Shift, and Ramziomar from rodsarchitects, and Hiloni Sutaria from HSC Design Studio. So now we'll get into the brief of all our speakers today. So let's start with Akanksha Thapa from Archohm. In the vast landscape of architecture, Akanksha is always eager to explore beyond the confines of convention. Her journey began in Rashtrapati Bhavan, where she first embraced architecture beyond blueprints. Now, as principal associate at Studio Archomm, her multifaceted skills in design and architecture extend to communication, research, branding, publications, awards, and pitching. Not content with traditional boundaries, she also spearheaded Detours India, intertwining design and travel to inspire new perspectives. Her role as outreach and design head at the Design Village underscored her dedication to learning, making a difference, and exploring new ideas in architecture. Her never settle for less attitude makes her what she is today. Hi, Akanksha. Welcome to the panel.
Hi, thank you so much for your
Yes.
introduction.
So next, let's move on to Srikanth Reddy from 23-degree Design Shift. Srikanth Reddy is the principal architect and managing partner of 23-degree Design Shift, an award-winning architecture and design studio based in Hyderabad. He's a firm believer that spaces are rooted in context and ideas are a series of responses to the parameters set in the given context. Founded in 2010, 23DDS are aligned with expansive contexts that are deeply connected with the living world. Hi, Srikanth Reddy. Welcome to the panel discussion.
Hello everyone. Hi, thank you.
Next, we have Ramzi Omar from Rods Architects. Ramzi Omar is an architect specializing in the fusion of design, technology, and architecture. He earned his master's degree in architecture and urbanism from the world renowned Design Research Laboratory, AADRL, of the prestigious Architectural Association of London School of Architecture, and has worked in the design industry for over a decade, both in the UAE and India. Throughout his career, he has worked on a broad range of projects, including private villas, palaces, educational and cultural institutions, stadiums, residential and mixed use towers, the hospitality and master plan projects. His architectural style is strongly influenced by nature and he has a strong command over parametric and kinetic architecture. Hi, Ramzi. Welcome to the panel discussion.
Hey team, how are you? How are you all?
Hi. Yes.
Nice to see you all.
Next, we have Hiloni Sutaria from HCC Designs. She is also the moderator for the panel discussion. Hiloni Sutaria is the founder and lead architect of HSC Designs. HSC Designs is a young, award winning multidisciplinary firm based out of Ahmedabad. Hiloni believes in combining the client's requirements, context challenges, climate, and community requirements to come up with unconventional solutions for projects. All of her projects have an intrinsic experiential value that makes the space more usable and enjoyable for the end user. Hiloni is constantly pushing the envelope in terms of the use of technology and materials in design and architecture. She is also a strong advocate for sustainability and architecture, actively promoting grassroots methods such as material reuse and zero waste practices in various projects. Welcome to the panel discussion.
Hello,
Hi.
hi.
So, yes.
Thank you.
So now that we are all here, before we begin, I would like to ask all our listeners to comment their questions in the chat box on YouTube. Since we all have a 5-minute Q&A session after the panel discussion. So I welcome all the architects for the panel discussion, the first panel discussion of the day one of IIDA Summit, and I hand over the stage to Hiloni.
Hi. Hello, everyone. I think
Hello.
this panel discussion is going to be, hello. It's going to be super interesting. We have a bunch of really smart people and amazing practices. I'm really excited to have a conversation with you. Diving in, the conversation's been split into 4 segments so that we can cover all aspects of innovation and technology in public buildings. So to start off with the first segment, please feel to interrupt me at any time, and I would love to hear your opinions and everything. We'll start with the first segment, which is about technology, which as a tool to bridge human connections. So what do you guys think is the primary purpose of innovation in public architecture? Is it to serve human convenience, advance aesthetic evolution, or foster community interaction? I think we can start with Akanksha.
Hi, thank you all for your time. It's very interesting to ask that, whether it serves human convenience or it's advanced aesthetics or it's to the community. I feel everything goes hand in hand. It has to complement each other. There is, if there is not, if we are not designing it, if it's not for human convenience, it has to be aesthetic. That's why it's architecture, and we have to give it back to the community. So I think it has to go around the community too. So I cannot choose that one. It has to be one thing, but I think it goes all hand in hand. We live in a sloth generation where people don't want to. They want to. So we live in a real generation, I would like to say. It's a 30-second thing, and for public architecture to be accessible, now it can't be blank facades or a museum place with a lot of text. I don't feel that right now the generation is who has that kind of time or patience to be around that kind of public architecture. So we've evolved in every aspect of it. So I feel that now, since the innovation has come in, I think everything needs to go hand in hand. Even the building materials that have evolved with time, that's also, it's for human convenience, right? It is for aesthetic evolution also, but it generally fosters the community also. So yeah, I would like to say that it goes all hand in hand.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. If I could hear Ramzi, your point.
Yeah, in my opinion, like the primary role of innovation in public architecture is obviously to strengthen community interaction, right? So yes, convenience and aesthetic evolution are important, but what really matters is how these spaces bring people together, where we can interact, where we can connect. Like think about innovations like smart lighting, like interactive installations, or even what we use in our daily life, like Wi-Fi can make a space. Bringing Wi-Fi into a public space can make a space more functional and beautiful. But ultimately, whatever we get in terms of innovation technology, this should encourage people to connect, like share experience and engage with their surroundings. So, it should be, there should always be an integration between innovation and the existing surroundings and the people who uses it. So yes, innovation in public architecture to me is especially to strengthen community interactions and how people can gather together and socialize more and bring value to the place in that.
We
Yes, yes.
heard, yeah.
Yes, Srikanth.
We all could
Yes,
hear,
Srikanth.
yeah. Yeah, hi everyone. For me, I think what I think about innovation is the only way forward for us, given so many challenges that we as societies are facing in this world today. And the aspect of innovation has to be in every aspect of design and conducting ourselves as a community, be it connecting with each other, or be it educating our future generations about responsibilities of living in this on this planet. I think innovation is the only way forward to get that sense into all of us living together as communities.
Yeah, I think what you guys have put forward are really interesting points, and definitely I think all of it is a very we can't separate aesthetic evolution from architecture, because in what it is also an integral part of any design, and any public space needs to encourage some amount of community interaction. And I really agree with what Akanksha is saying in terms of the reels generation. We do need to innovate to capture um, people and their dwindling attention spans. Moving on, I think respecting Indians' vibrant culture, how do you guys ensure that technologically driven public spaces cater to India's, or for that matter, any city's culture, their informal economies and public interactions, which are a very integral part of any urban life? I think we can start from Srikanth.
Yeah, it's a very interesting aspect to understand how we can take help of technology to make Indian streetscapes, Indian social scene more effective. I think it's a large challenge because today all the technologies that we employ comes from the West, be it inside a built farm or be it public infrastructure technologies. We are adapting a lot from the West. The crux lies in how do we Indianize them? How do we Indianize them for our scene and our scenario? Because I don't think we find similar scenario to look out for as an example anywhere in the world. If you say the term India's vibrant culture means a lot in that sense. So in all these technologies and all the formats of technologies that we employ to make our community spaces better and public spaces better, the interface is the crux of it. How do we have the how do we have our general public access that technology is one part and use that technology is the other part? So interface matters a lot here. So I think if we say today we see a lot of hawkers also using QR codes as a selling mechanism. That's a great effort from Indian government to push digital economy, and even street hawkers could use QR codes. That interface design is all that gets the difference. I think the larger emphasis should be on the interface of technologies into public life. Yeah. We lost Hiloni.
Yeah. So
I don't know
yeah,
what is
take
happening. Then yeah,
no worries. So taking things forward from there, I mean, I agree with Mr. Srikanth in terms of how we can, get these sort of technologies into the street. So how people can actually, grab them, take it in a positive way, and how they use it and so on. Like our Indian streets are like, it's the culture is full of life, right? So there's an energy that comes from like informal markets, street vendors, and social gatherings and so on. So when we think about integrating technology, for me, we shouldn't replace that. Like instead, tech should enhance that. So how we can do that? One way is like to introduce smart kiosks. So allowing street vendors to operate within in a proximity, and then bring in interactive urban furniture. So these are certain ways in order to, make it more vibrant, and also mobile apps like AR, augmented reality, for people to interact with the surroundings, like, can serve as a digital platform for artists, performers, street vendors, yeah, and connecting them directly to the public. So that's my take on, how technology should impact, vibrant street culture of India.
I think I very much agree
And
with
Akanksha?
what Srikanth said. It's very important for us to, we are adapting from the West, but to reuse here has been a challenge. We are picking it up, but we are picking it up in a wrong way, I feel. I feel that AI has taken, like augmented reality is one of the major key roles that is coming through. And I would like to discuss one of the things that I saw in this Smriti One museum, and they had recreated some of the uh, the enacts, and they have recreated augmented reality there, and I think that is getting it with the craft. So it is the craft and augmented reality, and I think that's what is getting on the table. What we are getting on the table right now. So yeah, the flexible designs can accommodate a lot of informal economies. Like Ramzi said, that we can do a lot of modular and adapted spaces. Again, the street vendors and the performers for social interaction.
Sorry to interrupt the panel discussion. We have a new panelist on board. Vasudha Karnani
Sorry,
from
I don't know
Mofa is with me.
what's happening with the internet connection.
Hello. Hello.
Hello,
We
hi.
can hear. Yeah.
We
We
can
can.
hear you.
Hello.
No worries,
Yes.
Hiloni. We are doing our
Yes.
part.
Yeah.
No worries.
So, really sorry. I don't know what is up with the internet connection today.
Nothing. No
In the
worries.
conversation of technology, I
Sometimes
think
it
technology is
happens.
failing
Nothing.
me.
Nothing to worry.
Technology is
Yeah.
failing.
Uh, yeah, it's failing me today in the conversation of technology.
No worries. Let's move forward.
Yeah, but I think yeah, I really agree with what Srikanth said as well, that the interface is so designed to kind of imbibe stuff from the West. In the last few decades, we've seen a lot of public spaces being designed completely from the ideas of West. So I think moving forward, it should be our integral role to kind of imbibe the culture of India into these spaces. Hi, Vasudha. We can't hear you. Can everyone hear her?
She's frozen.
Okay.
Hi, am I audible now?
Hi, Vasudha. Hi. Yes, you're audible.
Joining late, yeah.
Hi. Welcome to this interesting conversation. We are talking about technology as a tool to bridge human connections. I'll move to the next question, and then I think we would love to hear your input as well. Given India's diverse user groups and socio-economic disparities, how do you think innovative public spaces will remain inclusive and accessible to all segments of the society? Vasudha, if you can hear, if you can get your
Yeah,
opinion
I
on
could
it,
hear. Yeah. I
you can
think with
start with that.
technology, actually, now we have so many tools at our disposal to make spaces which are conducive for a lot of activities and a lot of type of people. And even have data as to how they're using it, what changes they might want or recommend. So, because of all of these tools available, it's just now easier to track behavior, use it, make changes. So, for public spaces, all of these activities and things can be considered better now.
Okay. What do you think, Ramsey? What is your opinion on it?
Yeah. So we're talking about inclusivity in innovative public spaces. So this um, inclusivity should be, or accessibility should be for everyone. Like for me, in simple terms, it's like how a layman can, get in, uh, get into a metro station, like how, like what we said, the basic cards which allows us to get out of the security system and get into a metro. So these small things matters a lot when even if it comes to, like, now we can see that most of the cities, the metro rail system is coming up, and how it's easier for even the layman to you get used to it, and use these technologies. So this is like a simple technology which have come across, like in a public, like affordable ticketing systems for public transport, like, and also the other thing is about solar powered stations where people can sit, where there are also solar power stations where it's AC ventilated, where they have charging stations. So this could be utilized by everyone, not just people from every economic background uh, can utilize such sort of technology. So small things matters to such huge, you know, population out there where everybody can use it safely and move forward. So that's also part of technology and innovation, is what I believe.
Yeah, that's very true. Shrikant, what do you think on this?
It's a it's a very interesting question. I think it has a lot of it's like a larger debate that we all can have, but the word socioeconomic disparities and inclusivity, uh, these two words caught my attention in the question because we all know that India has been largely fragmented in socioeconomic disparities aspect because all the housing today is in private sector hand, and you have high income housing, middle income housing, and low income housing, and segmentation of people starts from there. You do have public spaces within those housing properties. You do have a lot of public spaces, but they are very curated to that segment of people. And when we come out of the communities, sadly, public infrastructure is also quite segmented. I could see that you have a specific kind of people using metro stations, right? Specific segment of people using metro. You don't have all kinds of segments of people using metro in India, unlike other countries. So inclusivity as uh, of all segments of people into a public space at one place is very, very rare in our country. Akanksha was talking about Smriti Vanam Museum, probably those are the spaces where you get everyone, all segments together. And we are falling short of such spaces in India, largely. And technology aiding uh, inclusivity is a far off thing for us. If I understand it well, getting people together inclusively at one place itself is a task for us. I think more interest and more uh, what do you say, investments and thought should be given out to such spaces where we as Indian community come together and become inclusive, like the Smritivanam Museum, or it can be at different scales. These spaces can be of different scales, of different potentials. I see this happening a lot in other countries, especially Europe and some of the Asian countries, also Singapore and stuff. You have larger community spaces where all segments of people come together to enjoy a gig or to go experience a exhibit, and all of them, I think, are government initiatives, public sector initiatives, not private sector initiatives. So larger challenge for us is to get people together. Our country, I think, is quite fragmented that ways.
That's very true, what you're talking about in terms of fragmentation. Akanksha, I'd love to hear your idea and then, yeah.
So, when we talk about public spaces and when we say that, okay, India comes from diversity. There is a lot of diversity in India, and it's so funny that it changes per kilometer. And while you design a public space in an innovative way, you also have to keep in mind is that you have to keep it simple. Period. It has to be simple. It has to be for a child that is going at a age of 6, or someone who's going at an age of 80, somebody who knows how to read, somebody who knows how to understand a specific language. So I feel like, again, there is an example, like if we do anything in Maharashtra, if we do something, a public space in Maharashtra, we have to keep it simple. We have to do it in English, Hindi, but we also have to do it in their language. And it has to be simple for them also. It is for them to understand the public architecture. And I feel anything that revolves around the diversity of India, the social, economic diversity that we talk about, um, anything and everything we design has to be simple for anyone and everyone to understand it. So, like, there was a metro example given, but there is a very specific chunk, like 80 lakh people. Delhi Metro, if I talk about 80 lakh people travel in Delhi Metro. But there are very specific sort of people who are traveling in Delhi Metro, but there are also people who are traveling in the bus, in the transportation system. So, it can't be the you can't build an app where in India right now people don't even have an app system. Everybody doesn't have an access to the major chunk doesn't have an access to the app system. So I feel that whatever innovation that happens in the public space, it has to be. It can't be. It's we face this issue. We've traveled to Europe and we do not understand the language sometimes, and they are from the West. They are known to be the best also, but we still face that because I feel that the integrating system is not simple. You have to, okay, it is a click, and you get the ticket. It has to be that easy. So I feel whatever is happening in India, otherwise also AI has to be, innovation has to be very simple.
Yeah, that's so true. I think the point of fragmentation and keeping technology accessible, simply accessible. I think
Yes.
that's exactly the answer, I guess, to it. I think the only inclusive space I can think of in India would be a cricket stadium. That's
Yeah,
that's the only time India comes together,
very
be it
true.
any language, any kind of. So I think
Yep.
maybe spaces where kind of you can integrate people together in from different walks of life, have the same sort of interests, and maybe kind of integrate them in with simple technology. I think that would possibly kind of be the way forward. So moving on to the other question, as urban areas become more virtually connected, what do you think public buildings, what is the role of public buildings in human connection? I mean, I think it's just riffing off the previous question. How do you see fostering human connections through technology as our use of like technology kind of increases? How do we manage this? So I think Srikanth, you can start. Okay.
Um, it's a, I think urban areas being more digitally managed, or the amenities being digitally managed, and human beings, how do we still keep up our connect is the question, I believe, with each other. I'm not really sure of this because I think we just started off to become digitally more active as a country. I was there once in a train in Singapore, metro train, and the train was full, and every single person was drowned into his cell phone playing video games. Out of curiosity, I walked through the compartment to see what's on each person's screen, and I could only see a lot of them playing video games. And if that's the case,
Right.
then transportation hubs can't get people together. You don't have a scenario where you sit and talk to a person next to you saying, "Hey, hi, what do you do?" Such. I know metro journey is like a couple of minutes, but that was a striking, alarming scene that I've seen, and I I I hope as a country we don't go there. We are still much better compared to the other countries, and I hope
Yeah,
we don't go there. But uh, if we limit digital connectivity to just personal private convenience, um, then in-person human interaction values would be really high, really, really high. Uh, I know
that's
we are
true.
talking on a digital platform now for convenience of larger audience, but if this is a in-person thing, the thing that could not be said in words could be understood by personal expressions, right, and the other form of expression. So I don't know where sort of to set a limit, saying digital revolution should only be until this point, and beyond this has to be all humanly done. But I think someday pioneers would come up with an answer for that.
Yeah, yeah. What do you think, Ramzi? Hello.
We lost you,
Can you hear me?
Hiloni. Yes, now we can hear you.
Yeah. Yeah, sorry. What do you think, Ramzi?
Yeah. So as I said, like, we know that everybody, even when we are going to any places, for example, I mean, we are so much connected, or we are so much obsessed with our phones, with our laptops, with social media. Uh, the innovation, or I mean, I would say the technology has caught onto our nerves. We cannot. It's if you check any sort of social media and see the amount of time that we spend on it, like it's crazy, and we would like to set alarms for saying that, okay, you need to stop and so on. So uh, I mean, as architects, I know how occupied we are every day, and how much of work we have. We probably work. We all know we work probably midnight and so on. We don't have time to take off and probably spend some time with the family and so on. So uh, like I work both in India and Dubai. So when I'm in India, it's a bit difficult, especially in my hometown. When I be there, it's a bit difficult for me to go out and see, go out and see what different thing I can see, or what different uh, things that makes me happy in terms of public spaces and so on. So but when I'm in Dubai, there are places like there are centers, there are public spaces where a lot of people gather during weekends, different places where there are digital screens, there are musical fountains, there are light shows. So these sort of places, and there are those the different sort of entertainment ideas and fusion of these stuff. They keep playing like every weekend at each point of time, and these things bring a lot of people in there from different, not just from India, from different parts of the world, where people come there, gather, see it, experience it. And those type of things are free to public. You don't have to pay for it, but it's quite I mean, you'll be like, wow. I mean, this is the sort of innovation they've done in terms of such sort of entertainment and so on. So I see a lot of people gathering to. So what I'm trying to say here is we should also. I mean, I'm sure we have more bigger concerns back there, but then I would also love to have such sort of interactive spaces when it comes to public buildings, where such no, things could really bring in a lot of people, where I see nobody's using the phone. They are using their phone to capture that moment, but then it makes people really happy when it comes to family, when it comes to kids. It all brings them together and makes the place such life.
Yeah, that's a great point. I mean, technology or innovation becoming a sort of almost a public space in itself instead of a physical building. So What do you think, Akanksha?
Uh, I think that we are not there yet to think that okay, that there is technology that is the technology we are connecting urban spaces. I don't think we are there yet. We are talking about tier one cities. I still don't think that the tier one cities are there yet. But I would like to talk about, I'll pick up on Ramzi, what he said about public buildings. It's very strange in India. There are public libraries, right? There are public buildings, but then they close at 5 p.m. They are closed on a Sunday or a gazetted holiday. Um, Whereas the public will only get time to go and function in it and use the building, the public space, only on the days when they are also on leave. So it's funny, like we've been again talking about the West. The libraries are open till 12, or I've seen libraries that are open throughout the night where you can go,
All
you
night,
can
yeah.
use the public architecture. But like I said, we are not there yet. We haven't reached, the country hasn't reached there yet where, it's okay to go to a library and, a public building and in an urban space that can be enjoyed by everyone. We haven't reached there yet. So I would not say that any of the urban spaces or the urban area is yet connected digitally. I don't feel that it has happened till now.
Yeah, that's very true. I think it is sort of a point of accessibility and like accessibility for multiple groups of people and also accessibility for
Yeah.
times. I think that's a huge concern when it comes to public spaces.
Yeah.
What do you think, Vasudha?
Yeah, I think I'd like to touch upon like two parts, maybe two sections, because I think in urban life, usually we're very busy just in general. We're just out and about doing our things. We want to reach from point A to B quick, effortless. So, if with technology and design, if these connections or these transits are made seamless and more effortless, then we're more open to interaction. We're more open to what's going around. How is it affecting us? If we're not frustrated with something, I mean, our minds are more conducive to these interactions. So for sure, there's a huge scope to make things simpler, like Akanksha was saying earlier. And I also like to kind of build upon what Ramzi said, because sometimes when these interactive elements are there when we're not expecting or not we're not going to interact, but it's there. It could be like an interactive facade, or just you're walking and something on the floor just lights up. So when these
Yeah,
unexpected elements come up, it forces you to think and maybe look around. What are other people doing? Are they also interacting? And so with the digital interaction actually brings about human interaction, I would say. So when you experience technology
very
together,
true.
it's a great way to connect.
Right. Yeah, I think these are really interesting points of like non-building spaces, which actually using digital technologies, non-building spaces, which become public spaces without having to kind of um, without these kind of issues of accessibility. I think maybe something like that. And I don't know how have we gotten complicated because I remember when I was younger, I don't know what is the issue now. Why don't we have spaces like that? But there used to be these bookstores which almost became public spaces where you could go sit, read, and I don't see those spaces. Maybe I'm not aware, but I don't see those kind of multiple spaces around the city, which is sad for the younger generation. But I also think now they have sort of made social media their public space. I don't know how utopian or dystopian is that, but maybe for them, social media is sort of a public building where they kind of get together and interact with each other without meeting face to face. Um, Moving on to the second segment, which is about practical adaptations of technology. What role do you guys think research and data play in design strategy for expansive public buildings? And I'm sure you guys all do a lot of research and design, but then how do you translate these findings into practical, user-centric, and context-centric spaces that stand the test of time? I think maybe Vasudha, you can start.
Okay. So at Mofa, we really believe in looking at all parameters while diving into design, or it could be human, like what we're exactly building for. Is it for a particular function, or is it for an age group, or uh, for a specific segment of society? Looking at that versus what the context is kind of brings about our initial research, as well as environmental factors specific to the place. So when you're kind of trying to integrate all of these together and research on say the wind data there or the solar analysis there, so bridging these connections with our design elements really and tying it together is how we go about it.
Akanksha, I'd love to hear your take.
Yeah, so it's our studio thrive on, and we are very proud about saying about it that our DNA is traveling and learning. We don't do anything. It's a whether it's a bathroom or a public space. There's nothing happening without the research, and we have to learn. We have to learn from the international benchmarking. You have to see what's happening around the globe. We cannot create anything until and unless we learn. And how is it that we learn? We learn it through research. I think research and data is very critical for understanding any user behavior. It is to understand the patterns of people. We can only design as a public building. For example, if we design for a public building in Delhi, vice versa, if we design a public building in Meghalaya, it is very different from one another. The topography and the culture and how people behave are very different. That I think that comes only and only through research. It has to be through thorough research and study of the different regions where you're making the public building. If uh, like if you're making a public building in, like I said, like in Delhi, it changes. The narrative changes automatically, whereas the Meghalaya public building, the narrative changes. So I feel that the research of the building, it translates from research to then how the user experience will be.
Very true, very true. What do you think, Ramzi?
Yes, I agree. Research and data are the key. Like as we get to design a building, a public building, if it's in, it's different. The context is totally different when it comes to if the building is in an urban area or if the building is in a rural area. The user interaction is different. The people who use the building, the number of people who use the building is different. So when uh, a project of such scale comes to us, it's quite important. It's very important for us to do a thorough research. So I also did my master's in research and laboratory DRL. So I understood the importance of research there where we have to do a lot of iterations of things to get moving to a final. So we never call this as like our final product or something, but it's also a part of the research and part of development, research and development where it leads to a product, but we still think that there could be a different possibility, a different way to get into the final product. Even if we do, if we think that this is something which we've done, so there's much more to it. So when it comes to designing anything or a public building, for example, what type of research do we need to do? Like so GIS, like Geographic Information System, is something which helps
Yeah.
architects understand. the spatial data related to demographics, mobility patterns, and urban density. Like for example, how it is. I mean, if it's rural area, what is the density, the demographics changes, and so on. The other thing is like using IoT, like sensors, which can track how people move. So this in public spaces. So this helps us, to create spaces that are intuitive, like and efficient. So, the findings from those data can be, which we can translate into such user-centric spaces. And I think that can evolve, that can also evolve based on changing user patterns. So we have technology where we can tweak certain figures and see, okay, in the future, how many of, I mean, what would be the footfall there, and how we can, change the way people go through the space or interact. And also research helps us to see if how much of a modular we can make a space, like so thinking about 5 years development, 10 years development, what the future vision and how the building should change by itself, but at the same time, which I mean, making it modular makes it easier for it to expand and to accommodate more people in that space.
That's very true. I think these are really interesting examples of actually involving technology into gathering research itself. What do you think, Srikanth?
Uh, for us, research has been quite instrumental in how we are moving forward with our projects, as we are executing a lot of projects in course of time, because we are involved as a studio. We are involved in largely in public spaces, uh, medium scale to small scale. We are not into a large scale urban setup kind of projects, but we do residential communities, gated communities, and we do community amenities like clubhouses and community centers. From that scale to designing a restaurant or a cafe, we've been executing these projects for a couple of years now. To be very specific, when we look back into our projects, collect the data from the user group themselves about how efficient are the spaces that we've executed, and what's the pattern of usage. This kind of research and analyzing that research and analyzing that data, and concluding on to what should be done in the upcoming projects. This kind of activity has a large impact on right from the design program of the similar category of spaces in our
Hmm.
new projects, to climatic data, to design program, to even say a railing detail of uh, how does a user respond to a specific detail, a level difference in a space. From a larger climatic data to design program of the activity to a very small working detail, it has humongous impact on all these things. And it's unsettling. It never stops, it never ends, because I think the the end user pattern of usage of space is rapidly evolving compared to previous times. It's rapidly evolving and changing. So to catch up with that evolution of user psychology and physical usage of space is a little challenging, but we are finding our way through it. And I hope the future projects that we're executing are more efficient, much more efficient than the ones that we finished. But yeah, that's the crux. That's the crux. The research is the crux. You have gadgets to capture data. You personally go and take it from the end user yourself, because I think gadgets can only give you numbers. It can't give you the uh, real time analysis of the space right from the end user himself. We're still a little old school in gathering and analyzing data, but I think in a very large setup, the technological advancements are necessary to gather and analyze data.
Yeah, I think these are very interesting points in terms of also like the time-centric nature of the research. I think that also plays a huge role in it. And I feel there is also a disconnect in certain let's say tier 2, tier 3 spaces where we would want to inculcate technology into research, but the budget is always a sort of a disconnect. So I think that is also something where maybe where, like Akanksha said, centric spaces, they're kind of different because I think it's not just context, but also context, people. So moving on to the next thing, considering Indian context, how do you guys assess the impact of immersive technologies like AR or VR on how people navigate and experience public spaces? Could they enhance engagement or risk detachment from physical spaces, like we've been talking before as well? I think Ramzi, you can start on this.
Yeah, AR especially it has a huge AR and VR actually both have huge potential for public spaces. Uh, Especially complex environment like India, AR can help with wayfindings, helping people navigate complex public transport, hubs, museums, museums, large markets, and so on. But uh, I mean, that all comes from a sort of a map or a sort of an app which is connected to your phone, which shows your ways and so on. So uh, that is also something which we should think when we design a space, when we design a museum or a bigger public space where people shouldn't get lost. We should also integrate such sort of technology when we start designing such space. VR, yes, VR is also a sort of technology, I think, which I mean, there are people who have already started using them when they start designing, where uh, you know, they design the whole thing and they show the user the experience of their space during the design process itself, which I feel is very much important because we know like all our clients when we talk about like an area like 4 by 4 or 10 by 6, they don't understand the space, or even if we put furniture they don't understand how this furniture is going to look like we know VR can give them a much better experience. And so I also believe we should set up like uh, spaces, public spaces like a VR, probably a VR warehouse, where many of these architects can utilize that space, can bring in their floor plans, bring it there. They can, it's like uh, bring in their clients and they can show their floor plans to actual scale on the floor. They can also use a VR technology to show them space. So probably we can have such sort of a public space or a realm where all the architects can bring in their clients and make. So we don't have to. I mean, each office doesn't have to spend a certain amount of money to make such a space, but then uh, as an architecture community, like probably a city where you have one place of such where every artist can come in and use such space, which actually gives more value to the client.
I totally agree with that.
I think that's a fantastic, yeah, I think that's a
Yeah.
fantastic idea. I mean, we should be
Yeah.
implementing this. We should
We should
definitely
You're
take
certainly
most welcome to
implement
join
this.
that
in.
I think
because
it can.
they've already started here, which is why I have an experience of it. There's a space
Ah,
called Alcoves and
wow.
there's a warehouse where they have set it up. It's like a huge space. So, it makes it much
Wow.
easier for us to make the clients understand how their space looks. And we don't have to do revisions and revisions of, designs. So
Yes.
we do a couple of
Yeah.
them. We show them this is how your space looks
Yeah.
like and if you
Yeah.
like it or not. And we can also shift and make things bigger, with the VR, so which
Yeah.
is way easier, especially for us.
Wow.
We
Yeah, I
had
think
we
that's
had
a
this experience.
fabulous ideas. And instead of, yeah, please, Shrikant, carry on.
We had this first-hand experience of VR helping us get through the projects in the first shot of design presentation, and we saw that clients talk and think like us once they are in the setup. So it's a shortcut to convey the idea and a very effective shortcut.
Yeah, that
Exactly.
that sounds great. I think we should all be definitely, I think, putting up this idea and trying to get it done. And even like for the end users, they make these sample houses and stuff for their clients as well. And instead of that, if we have a tool like this, it could be great for them as well.
Yeah.
Akanksha, what do you think?
I think then we will have to break less walls and less windows because not like this. Let's just break it down. So if we do that, we save that time. We save that
Yeah.
Yeah.
time. If the lights are not coming in, we know well in advance that it's not coming in. The water is coming in, we know well in advance that it's happening. I also think to adding on to that, and I'll keep coming back to the museums because I think that's the one public building that I've enjoyed so much looking at, being part of the process. Um, it's a very if you go to a museum that doesn't have AR or VR, it just have vinyl pasted photographs and text and text and text. I bet you that you will leave the museum in 10 minutes. You will just see the visuals and you're out of the museum. Whereas if there is something that is technologically driven, they are AR kiosk and they are VR kiosk, you would want to spend a lot of time there because you experience that. I feel that enhances the public engagement. And I do not feel right now that, we have evolved in life and in time of architecture, and architecture has turned into this direction also, where architects are not just, it's not just bricks and columns, it's also about experiences, and it's also about designing those experiences for all of them. So yes, public engagement that comes in the interactive space due to AR and VR, it it enhances as soon as this happens. So I do not think that there is any, like in the question it says that is there a risk of detachment. I don't think it is any
Yeah,
detachment, it is enhancement rather.
There's a
100%,
very
100%. I
interesting,
think it,
yeah, there's a very
yeah,
interesting,
Srikanth, sorry, you're saying
this is
something.
a very interesting point that Akanksha has pitched. I've been to a museum once in France, it's not a museum, but it's a house. It used to house all the popes of the world. So, um, the building was in a bad shape. Matlab, all the frescoes on the walls were not there anymore, but you can experience the volume, you can experience the space. There were these augmented reality panels put up in every room, which helps you pick the panel and look into any direction and shows how the building was back in time in the panel, whichever direction you pose it. So physically you can experience the space, and virtually you get a larger understanding of how the space is was. So it AR and VR, I'm sure it enhances to next level because I had a couple of first-hand experiences. Because physically you are still in the space. All the elements of the space impact you, like the temperature around you or the noises around you. But virtual reality or augmented reality can still enhance being in the physical parameters. It doesn't detach you from the context.
Yeah, I also think, I mean, it's a add-on. I think it also increases the accessibility. Like recently, we've been to Casabayo in Barcelona, and they have these tablets that they give, which has an AR representation of how he'd
Yeah.
kind of designed it. And my 5-year-old daughter was so engrossed in that process, like the fish is coming out, and then that kind of becomes the design. So it sort of makes it more accessible to people who might not be able to perceive the beauty of the architecture or the beauty of any of the museums or spaces, or even when it comes to simple things like paintings as well. Like it, usually paintings are looked at as a more two-dimensional perspective, but if we integrate AR into it or VR, I think it can increase engagement. And like Akanksha said, even increase the time people spend in the spaces.
Yeah. I mean, who could
Yeah.
have imagined
Vasudha,
that
what do you
Van Gogh
say?
could be thinking?
Yeah. Okay.
Exactly.
I can actually contribute because I think there's so much potential for AR and VR for us. Because and as architects or designers, we should be quite happy. There's another whole reality to design into actually for us, and integrating that the physical realm and the digital realm, quite exciting. Because also it brings about possibilities like personalizing things for people in a shared space. So in a public space, there are some things physical and another realm which maybe I have a different experience as opposed to you, based on what our patterns are or how we're kind of engaging with the space. So we can declutter a bit the physical environment and have more information and engagement as well through these immersive technologies. I think that's a great area where we can actually advance into. And while we're so there has to be a fine balance between, like you're saying, detachment or disruption in everyday life versus engagement. But as we move forward, mixed reality is going to be the usual. So how we adapt and are able to use it well is going to be exciting. It's also like
That's
a
true.
great tool for
It is.
visualizing things, because
Yeah, sorry,
we
please
can
carry
make
on.
information and data experiential, and we're great at it as like designers. So it brings a lot of value actually, like that immersive
Yeah,
technology.
I think it's true, and it is technology which is available. It is technology which is the way forward. So I think um, we are far away from that question of detachment. It is something that we are to use as architects in our designs. Moving on to the next question. In many Indian cities, public spaces are underutilized and neglected. So, what role do you think digital technologies can bring to make them more engaging? And how do we strike a balance of technology and participation of local artisans or local technologies or even local construction practices into high-tech construction methods involved in these revitalization of the spaces? Srikanth, you can start it.
Yeah, to talk about how we can take help of digital or smart technologies to uh, kind of make a public spaces more efficient or reimagine them. Uh, I Before we get to that question, I think we should talk about uh, how the spaces are made initially, because public spaces across the world right now today are being made for a very generic usage pattern. They're not made for specific usage patterns. So predominantly, you see a lot of pavilionish structures happening in public spaces, so that the adaptability of fast changing necessities of community can be engaged in that space. Certainly digital and smart technologies and interfaces can because there's nothing permanent built to have digital interface aid a certain function in a space. So as long as the spaces are made uh, very generic in a very generic fashion, it really helps digital mediums and platforms to uh, make use of those spaces in a better way. And I think there has to be a great deal of thought that should go into existing public spaces of India to transform into a much effective, better patterns, because all the existing spaces are built to a specific activity, which no longer probably is a need of the society. And to the second part of the question, how do we strike a balance between high-tech construction methods and skilled local artisans? It's a very interesting question. So construction is about technique. So as long as the construction technique, be it coming from local artisans or highly industrialized mechanized process, as long as it is sufficing today's necessity and need, I think it is appropriate. So if we have say a local artisan, construction worker, local artisan who can't adapt who can't get evolved, or who's not equipped with the today's requirements of construction, then
Mm,
skill development is the only way to take it forward.
that's
Compared
true.
to the artwork, right? If you say constructing a brick wall is a technique, but fresco on the brick is a local art that needs to be preserved and cherished. So these are two different things. Construction should always be progressive and should always move forward to today's technology. So skill development is a necessity. I don't think we need to strike a balance between them, rather move things forward.
That's true. That's very true. Ramzi, what is your opinion on this? I think you're on mute, so
Yes, yes. So talking about underutilized spaces, one such space that I can imagine is like the bridges, the bottom area of the bridges, or the metros, where there are these humongous pillars of big size, and there's like enough space under the bridge where which is underutilized. Probably there is garbage thrown there, or which is not utilized properly. But in certain cities, yes, they have utilized that space as well. So uh, how can we, like, there are cities in Bangalore where how they utilize such space as well, in terms of bringing local artisans instead of I can see, like, when there is a pillar come up, when there's a blank space, you can see a lot of posters coming in there, which makes it look awfully which makes it look awful. It does not have a consistency. So even if you are doing some sort, if the government is renting out such a space, for example, a bigger pillar to do some sort of an advertisement, why don't make it look more vibrant, more digital, where it engages people, where there are some so basically what I'm trying to say is, like, bring in more digital screens, digital platforms there, and also these underpassages where we can bring in what you call jogging tracks, some benches with Wi-Fi, where people use these spaces. And as I said, in talking about getting local artisans there, yes, we can make those place looks nice, vibrant, with artists painting those walls, painting, which is already happening. But how can we take it to a next level by developing those areas? Like, uh, we are building infrastructure, but then after building those infrastructure, how to make those spaces look appealing, look user friendly, look make it make every passerby use that space is much more important, rather than leaving it completely blank, and then people get to do what they want to do, and then it just makes it look really bad.
yeah. Akanksha, you were saying something, I think.
So the question is a little. I feel like I said we are not there yet to make public spaces that are unutilized. We are aware that there are so many, like Ramsey's also said, that there are so many public spaces that are non-utilized.
I think Vasudha, you can carry on with the point, and then we can get back to Akanksha. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, sure. Uh, Talking about vernacular technologies or local artisans and innovation, I think that's exactly where we come in, where we can utilize their knowledge and innovate. So make something completely new. It could be just another form, but using, suppose, a specific, say, brick pattern of a community or a region, and kind of reinventing some things in small ways, just adding value a bit by a bit to create something new, so that people are excited, there's something innovative going on. And I just gave an example of a form, but this could be in any aspect. It could be some small interior artifact, it could be a large public space, right? So using their knowledge and building on it and contributing through our expertise is, I think, exciting for them as well as us, because they can see their knowledge manifested in another possibility, right? So yeah.
Yeah, I think these are great points, and I agree with what Srikanth said in terms of skill development. I think that is very necessary. How do we modulate skill development with their existing knowledge is a balance that we need to strike in terms of executing projects. Like in a recent project for the brick facade, we have a modulating brick facade, and we wanted to kind of use AR to map the patterns instead of doing a lot of scaffolding waste. And it was impossible to kind of get the brick masons to kind of learn these technologies on site. And so I think we found a midway where we kind of compromised a little bit and learned their technology, and they maybe something like that, some sort of mutual collaboration with local artisans, and then that can feed into kind of revitalizing these spaces. So we'll move on to the segment three, where it's about innovation and technology on an urban level. In most of cases, the public buildings have an unapproachable aura in certain spaces. How do you think technological and digital intervention can help to improve the aura of these spaces? Vasudha, I think you can start on this.
So the thing that's striking me the most actually off the bat is accessibility, and when things just seem simple enough that I'm not intimidated in a new space, even if the scale of the building is huge, if the wayfinding is easy, then you're okay, you're not feeling intimidated, right? So when
Right.
your functional aspects are simplified enough that you're not afraid of engaging with the architecture, then I think that's one way to make things approachable. Yeah.
Okay. What do you think, Ram?
So, at an urban level, in order to make the space look more interesting and innovative, at this point of time, we can say like whatever buildings we're building, like if you know the client have the budget, we can go berserk on that. For example, how can we like we were thinking of um, you know interactive facades, how the facades interact and bringing in kinetic factors. So that makes a lot of difference rather than the building being very static. Also the facades which can actually change according to the sun patterns, where there's a building here in Abu Dhabi where it looks like a pineapple shape, but it has got a very in interesting facade patterns where it's sort of a geometric shape which opens and closes according to the movement of the sun. So during certain period of the time where the sun is in that direction, it keeps closing, and the face of the building closes at that direction, where the other side of the building is quite open. So this sort of things is something which we can bring in to make it look more interesting, but at the same time it comes with a cost. So yeah, definitely, if there are if there is room for that, yes, we should probably think in those lines of making it more interesting. Uh, it's just one example of making technology, how we can bring in technology to an urban level or to a public building or building of that sort. But there are many other ways which we still can make this place interesting through innovation. This is just one of the things which I think could be done.
So moving on to the next one, as smart city initiatives are rolled out across India, how do you envision public buildings contributing seamlessly to urban ecosystems where transportation, utilities, and public services are connected? And how do we integrate sustainability into this? Sorry, yeah. And how do we integrate sustainability into this seamlessly and local with using local and eco-friendly materials and modern technological advancements? Hello. Yes.
Can hear you.
Srikanth, I think you can start.
Yeah, uh, I think smart city initiatives. It's right now a decade or more older uh, older initiative in India, and I think we haven't been able to see a major impact on our cities yet. Um,
Right.
I can say that yes, there has been initiatives of single window clearance of public utilities and digitized accessibility for transportation system. Uh, all of these initiatives are up and they're very well received in I think in our cities, but to a larger to a larger extent, I think we don't see the impact of these initiatives on day-to-day life because probably I think is the reason is localizing these solutions.
Mm.
India being so diverse, I think these solutions need to be localized from city to city differently. Yeah, and I think that's the only way forward. Be it effective transportation systems or public utility management or garbage disposals or waste management. I think these technologies need to be localized uh, as per the city, and it's a larger exercise to come up with solutions for that. But I think that's a way forward for all of us.
That's very true. And even if we see our local metro station, something as small as metro stops. I don't think there are any sort of local solutions towards it. There's nothing which sort of talks about the context of the city or even the context of the culture of the city. So I think local solutions are very imperative, maybe to kind of contribute to the whole aspect of smarter cities as well. Ramzi, what do you think?
You're on mute,
Yeah,
Ramzi. Yeah.
Yeah.
Ramzi.
Coming to smart city ecosystem, so I think the simple thing which everybody knows, like um, how can we make it more energy efficient? So whatever building we have at the moment, there should be certain standards brought in, like a green building aspect should be brought into all the buildings uh, all the public buildings which are yet to be constructed, where you say, okay, this much of energy needs to be saved, this much of energy should not be released, or how can we save this energy? So simple thing is like solar power. Why don't we integrate facades with glass facades with solar power? So there are many technologies out there invented in China, Germany, where you have a simple screen which actually gets in the solar power and then it stores into their grid and system. So when we save such energy and then when we can produce and store this renewable energy, which can contribute in a larger way to the city's overall sustainable goals, is what I think.
Yeah, I think that's an excellent point. I mean, these spaces feeding into the city's green energy initiatives, I think that is something that will definitely kind of serve the larger purpose of it. Vasudha, what do you think?
Yeah, I think talking about these smart city sort of schemes, it's in a country like India where we have so much diversity and our problems are also diverse in specific different contexts. Our solutions really have to be contextual. So understanding those and building or proposing things with reference to that is very important, because we can't have cutter sort of solutions in our country. And for sure, building less or building not building at all sometimes is the best practice to do. So when we're able to assess the problem correctly, not correctly, but efficiently, then we can propose a solution which is most suitable in a conscious way.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. I think
True.
this feeds into the idea of having more localized solutions towards these spaces, which sort of like and as diverse India as maybe those differ from each city to each city. I think. Akanksha, I think Akanksha, can you hear us?
Hi, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Hi. No
Technology is
worries, no
not
worries. Yeah,
there
so
every day.
uh, so we are talking about the smart city initiatives and how do we tie in sustainability and local eco-friendly materials into these ideas.
You know, um, when I read this question and I was like, okay, sustainability is the thing right now. Climate change is really happening. We are sitting at a 50-degree, and if we don't, as an architects, we don't build responsibly, uh, it is something that we are going to pay the cost in next 20 years. Sustainability can only come through combining local and eco-friendly materials. I'm not sure what everybody said, and I could not hear it, and maybe I'm repeating the points, but it's just that it has to come through local building eco-friendly materials, and but it also has to go through a modern technology. This can only be evolved in sustainable material along innovations, so that it can also be energy. So, for example, as an architect, for us, it should be essential to use solar panels or recycling technologies. When I say sustainability, I also understand that it comes at a cost, and in our country, sustainability is the most expensive thing. Like it goes 3x the amount that it can happen, but it goes it's bizarre, but we have to do something about it. And I feel that the only good thing or only thing that architects can do is choose the material responsibility.
Yeah, I think that's a very valid point in terms of what you said in the 3x cost of it. it's a very sad situation where architects are having to choose between um, integrating technology and sustainable solutions and to kind of meet their client's budget and to kind of even the cost of using local materials nowadays is so much higher than using these you know uh, replicas of it or synthetic solutions of it. I think that's the real problem when it comes to adopting any of these technologies. And hence, I think in a lot of Indian public spaces, we are seeing these really ugly ACB panels and stuff like that, which kind of don't make sense to that city's this thing. Um, but yeah, I think let's move to segment 4, which talks about the future of technology and innovation. Uh, so with the pace of advancement in technology, how do you foresee the convergence of AI, computational design, and architecture shaping the built environment in the coming years, in the next 20 years? Akanksha, maybe you can start on this. Okay, I think Ramzi, you can start on it.
Yeah, like in 20 years, I see like AI and computational design being integral part of architecture. Like, we are in a system where we have to complement each other and work. Like it is definitely an integral part. So when it comes to AI, there are so many tools at this point of time which helps us, which makes the process of design much easier. Where it helps us give more iterations to a concept where we just have to sketch something or feed in some data, and we get to visualize, we get to see that on screen what we have in our mind. So, which gives us more perspectives of or more iterations of one such design. So that is the power of AI, which we should certainly take it. Like, we are currently using AI in the design process in order to get over the pre-conceptual, design process. So which makes it much easier for us to show our clients, okay, these are different possibilities of different trajectories where we can take this design into. And that is one thing regarding AI. And the other thing is automated construction. When it comes to construction, how can we automate it? So 3D printing is quietly a big territory on its own, and I think it's coming in certain parts of India now, but it's vastly done in Europe and also in UAE. That will reduce drastically, as we know, like it reduces the construction time to a certain extent for sure. Like, we can cut down the labor part and so on. So that is one thing, and yeah, so 3D printing using robotics, that's a much more I mean, these are much more efficient ways of automated constructions and so on.
Yeah, I think this is 100% true, and maybe you have a unique perspective towards this working in Dubai. I mean, I'm sure over there, like from what we have seen over here, there the use of technology is much more 3D printing houses, and even in everyday practice, I think you use a lot more of robotics, a lot more of computational design, if I'm not wrong.
Even there are public platforms, like for example, we are working in In5, so there is this they themselves have provided us a warehouse where you have robots, where you have 3D printers, where you have CNC
Wow.
cutters. So you can come here, uh, and it's not that expensive at all. Maybe like 20 dirhams or 30 dirhams an hour, where you
Wow.
can use this space. So anybody from any part of the world can come here, use the space, and so you really don't have to invest a lot in it. But there are spaces such provided here where you can come and exploit them to whatever greater extent you
And that's fantastic. I think India is also sort of advancing, but I think we're still kind of behind in terms of using these technologies. What do you think, Srikanth? What do you think about this?
AI and parametric design, uh, I think these both are worrying factors for a lot of architects moving into the future. But I think the hopeful side of it, I think, is I think these might turn or will turn into effective tools to get more efficient with our solutions, much more effective tools. As long as artificial intelligence remains as a tool of solution finding, I think it's brilliant. So because I strongly believe that, you generate a text using AI, or you generate a art using AI, you would certainly get the impact that you're looking for, but 100% that text or art will lack in the emotional quotient of it. So
True.
I think the advanced technologies can only cater to solution finding, but they can't. I think, at least for today, what I am exposed to of all these things, they can't integrate human emotions into a particular solution. So any given day, I think we will have a upper hand, but I think it is going to be the future, and I'm really interested to see how, if I'm there until then, 20 years later, how public infrastructure will be impacted by AI.
Yeah.
Uh, might look like one of those sci-fi movies.
I think this is an age-old debate whether AI or technology is going to push us to utopia or dystopia. But I think AI still sort of, I feel like even with AI, the human intervention still stays,
Yeah,
because it's still like a child. You need to teach it
yeah.
how to talk like you. You need to teach it how to think like you. So I don't think it's going to be taking our jobs away anytime soon. It's going to be like, it might help us optimize. I mean, instead
If
of a job, yeah, that can be done by four people, maybe AI can do hand
yeah,
single-handedly. Yeah,
you generate a paragraph of text written by AI,
yeah,
and you have a paragraph written by somebody. You can have things written between the lines, not written in that paragraph by human. Yeah, you can read between the
yeah,
lines. That
yeah.
aspect can never be achieved either physically or emotionally with anything that's done with parametric design or AI, is what I believe in.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure. For now, I don't think that AI is advanced that much that you can inculcate the human emotion in terms of at least generating text and chat GPT and maybe kind of. So I think the intervention of human will still stay. What do you think, Akanksha? I think you were trying to say something.
So, AI right now in architecture, it is transforming, of course, the process of design, and it's making us faster, it's making us efficient. But I feel that it can't take our brain. It's simultaneously, I would also like to say that I know people who would say that, oh, it's a 3 BHK plan. We have asked the AI to do it for us. We don't know need you, but the AI would not be able to tell you.
I think
Can you hear
we
me?
lost her. Yeah, yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah. So, like I
Akanksha,
was
yeah,
saying, but
yeah,
it's also very interesting. Like it's very well said in our office that not everybody can Google, not everybody knows how to Google. It's very similar. Not everybody knows how to do AI. You need a human brain to train an AI to work in a certain way, uh, to give you something that is in a certain way, but you need to understand and utilize your brain. So I don't think that the AI can just take over anything on our brain, at least. In next 20 years, I of course see us becoming faster and better, but I don't think it's taking the architects' jobs away. It's not.
yes. Yeah, so I think we can all be rest assured that we'll still have a job 20 years down the line. Just with maybe kind of faster help with our work. What do you think, Vasudha?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you guys use a lot of computational design and parametrics, so I think your perspective on this would be really interesting as well.
Yeah, I was wondering when I heard the question. 20 years seems like something we can't really predict for sure right now. I think maybe 2 years, maximum five. It was we can think of with the way the things are advancing. There's new tech every 2 weeks now, I think. So it's kind of exciting for us at this time because for sure advanced technologies and computational design really has helped us as architects and designers. It's made things, I mean, we can make things more optimized, more data driven approaches. It could be for environmental things or for form finding. So we can, like how we were talking about being more sustainable, it really is a tool that helps us build less, build more efficiently, have a better approach like that. And in terms of AI, I think for sure it's a tool that if we learn how to use it well, it's only a friend to us, actually not really here to take our jobs. Because what it's done is made these tools very accessible to everyone, as architects and designers, as well as to our clients or users. So I'm forgetting of the name of the website, but there's this website and it's a map based website, and you can ask where are these museums around me, which are very specific to say paintings or modern art, and it gives you answers and you can go and experience. So these things are kind of opening gateways for people who didn't have access to this information or didn't know how to use these advanced tools even. Because once these even these softwares or tools have a bit of AI use in them, then it's actually better for us because we'll have quicker solutions and uh, not such a steep learning curve even to use these technologies. Yeah. So
100%. I
here we
think,
use it a lot for even presentations or ideating with the client, because the feedback time becomes less. The
yeah,
interaction is more efficient because we need on the same page. So it's helping. I only see it helping us more as time progresses.
as a
yeah,
tool. Yeah.
100%. I think it does take away a lot of time and effort spent on just, I mean, clerical tasks, and kind of not even just in design, but also integrating that in construction tech, um, which would be the way forward, integrating that with robotics. I think that would definitely help us. So we move on to the last question of the discussion. How do you predict urban infrastructure and public buildings evolving with the advent of smart cities? And how do architects play a role on shaping these environments? So, like a conclusive idea of the whole discussion, and sort of how do we as architects predict the maybe not 20 years, but like 5 years down the line? How is technology going to change these urban spaces? Or how does the intervention of better construction tech going to make it more localized or more generic? There is also an idea where a lot of architects think that there should be a generic solution which can be mass produced, almost like a modular, almost like the idea of modular furniture, modular architecture. Um, I don't know if that's a very sort of way forward sort of idea, but that's also a part of a technological intervention. So how do you guys think should be the way forward in the next 5 years? I think we can start with Srikanth.
Um, I think what I can read through with the whole discussion and what I can understand is probably if the aspect of being more contextually driven solutions using most advanced tools and technologies takes the center stage, right from the design board till the on-site execution of, say, be a private space to a larger public space. If the solutions are contextually rooted and these advanced technologies are used as a tool to be more effective at it with zero error or say minimal error, I think we can predict a bright future for even a very complicated, diverse country like India with so many challenges, and these challenges are not unique. These challenges are not the same for the entire spread of the country. They're so unique to every single place. So I'm not sure of using advanced technologies to generate a, a mass an idea that can be mass produced throughout the country. I'm not sure of that, but technology today and the technological solutions today give us chance to localize the solutions pretty much, and If that's done, I think we see very effective and very convenient, very responsible societies taking shape.
Yeah, fantastic. I think the way forward is definitely optimization, localization, and accessibility, like you mentioned. Um, Akanksha, what do you think about what is your conclusion?
Um, I feel like Srikanth also said that it has to be contextual. It has to be around what we are building around it. The evolution of urban infrastructure in technology is to create a city that is better for the people and by the people. It cannot, you cannot uh, discourage or you cannot neglect any of each. It has to be culture, it has to be people, it has to be surroundings, everything. As smart cities are prevailing through multiple spaces that respond dynamically, I think that's how the urban infrastructure should now shape in. It should not be just one program, one building. It needs to have multiple facets. And I think that's how architects are playing a very important role in shaping the environment right now.
Yeah, that's so true. Um, what do you think, Ramzi?
Yes, so in terms of urban infrastructure, what I still feel is, we still lack a master plan for a city, or, that is something which we need to create when a city is growing. At the moment, the city is growing as per how a person um, evolves or his family evolves, an urban area or a rural area evolves is according to how a person, buy a piece of land or, and then start constructing there. So there should be some sort of even, I mean, from now on, like as you see, Barcelona is a beautiful city, like where they had a brilliant master plan, which where everything is in it. So now that we are so much into technology, we get real-time data, we get integrated smart utilities where we can put in all these data and then come up with a master plan for the entire infrastructure. How this can be planned efficiently, how we can plan out where the residential community should be, where the commercial aspect of the city should be. So, I mean, that is the basic, like the fundamentals where we need to approach. Where right now, what we are planning to do is like to solve the current issues. Yeah, like we have so many uh, buildings built without it just because that is how it has to be, or that is what the client's purpose is for the building. But then how we
Right.
also think globally, how we can revive it, how we can evolve from there is important than thinking from what we can do from the current perspective. So I think a global vision is much more needed at this point of time.
And because you practice in both of these cities, do you see a difference I mean, obviously there is a difference on how public spaces are there in Dubai and how public spaces are there in India. But is there something that we can integrate from public spaces over there to some to public spaces in India? Or is it too distinct to kind of um,
Here, yeah, the difference that I see, this is like a desert land, right? So you have enough place to plan and so on. But when it comes to India, we are thickly populated, overpopulated, and so on,
mm,
right? So even in UAE, when initially when they built the city, they did not know what the standards are, what the standards should be for a certain amount of population living in a particular area, right? So they built it according to the standards of, for example, the width of the roads or the sewer lines and all of that was planned thinking about 10 years, but then we could see the population rise up probably, which was much faster, and then uh, I mean, things went bizarre where the traffic was much more than expected. From then on, there are places built in the periphery of Dubai where they're expanding more. Where what they've done is like they've created they've done a vision for another 30 or 40 years or 50 years rather than thinking for the next 5 or 10 years. So that's important. Like for example, where they've built 3-lane roads, but they've made sure there is enough space for a 6-lane or a 7-lane 20 years down the lane. So there are vacant lands which you can see along the side of the roads. Then the community development starts from there onwards, which should probably be 100 meters or 150 meters away from there. So that is something which we have to plan right now, is
Right.
what I feel in terms of infrastructure.
Hmm. Interesting. That's a very interesting um, solution. Vasudha, what do you think? What is your perspective? And because you guys use parametrics in computational design to design beautiful public spaces like your recent one in Goa, um, what what does parametrics add to this whole conversation, or like in the design of public spaces as opposed to other spaces? And how do you kind of integrate? I know you guys also use a lot of AI. How do you integrate that into the design of these spaces?
With these advanced technologies and these tools that are available, it's easier to make to not shy away from complexities actually, because these things are
Hmm.
quite possible now to achieve. So when we're thinking of a specific thing or to achieve in terms of a function or form even, uh, it brings the possibility that we don't restrict ourselves, right? And these things instill confidence in going ahead with an idea which might seem hard, but when you start doing it and you start optimizing things, it brings forward a better design. Sometimes it's generative even, so while you're going about it, it's developing.
Right.
So with in terms of how we're talking about sustainability and these tools, these really help us in optimizing our approach actually. So I don't know if that was a little bit too specific, because I could only hear chunks of the question. I'm so sorry.
No, no, I think you are spot on. It sort of helps us kind of build into things that were might not have been possible otherwise, or even sort of have a very generative process instead. They kind of, I think, a mix of generative and intuitive process. Um, I think this has been a fantastic discussion. Barring maybe like a few technological glitches, I think it was amazing to hear everyone's perspectives. I think we'll move on to the individual questions. Gopika, should I just start the individual questions?
Hello.
Hello, Gopika.
Yes, yes,
Yes.
yes. So it was a very interesting panel. I must say the perspectives were like it was a very fresh perspective on urban spaces, public use spaces, which is quite we have not come across such discussions so far. So it is very interesting to hear, especially the concepts that we discussed today. Like all the perspectives might seem a little far fetched in the Indian context, like currently in the context right now, but this such conversation is what actually sparks a change in our society, and we must continue to speak about this. And in this modern world, we feel we are all so disconnected by technology, but in a way we are also coming together with technology. So we have to make sure that it is a need of the hour to bring public spaces and urban infrastructure more usable and contextual at the same time. So thank you for joining us today and having this wonderful session.
So I think I'll start with Vasudha. So fluid architecture and green philosophy are two of the important principles that you guys practice. How do you apply the context of fluidity across various projects while adhering to the local context of the site? And what strategies do you adopt to ensure that green architecture is showcased and utilized to the maximum in your large-scale projects?
I think I've touched upon this a bit, but I'm going to expand, because when we say fluidity, it's about what the context is giving us, was as well as what the users are bringing us, what the client's brief is, or what are their expectations. So, kind of adapting and using all of these parameters to the best of our ability to create innovative spaces, or fresh interactive environments and experiences. is what actually drives us and what we strive to achieve. So, doing that while uh, building responsibly in terms of the form or the building materials, or even predicting maybe human behavior or patterns and trying to optimize on the basis of that, is one way we try to kind of mold our architecture.
Yeah, that's really interesting. Well, I think I'll ask Akanksha, how challenging is it to push conventional boundaries while incorporating culture and traditions in your designs? And how do you promise to deliver the best quality of designs while not compromising on the reflection of culture?
I think the best way to move forward is educating your client. You have to, it's very easy to say, the clients in India, uh, I would, they would tell you certain things. Uh, they would uh, expect you to do certain things in their own way. But I think as an architect, it's your own duty to educate your client. It is very important for them to come around what you as an architect have said or decided or designed for them. There'll be so many, and there are still so many instances where your client have been, they tell you we've seen somewhere and we want similar things in their buildings or their houses. uh, I think to come around, to make the client come around that is to educate. Now by educating, you can, we also at the studio we also make the clients travel with us. It's a very common practice that we want them to be like, okay, you want to build a city or you want to build a museum, let's go look at a museum. Or maybe you want to look at a public space, let's go look at a public space, let's experience it together. And maybe then you and I can understand on what we are putting on the table or what we are getting on the table. So I feel that educating the client is one of the key essential roles.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think we would incorporate this idea of taking the clients to travel with us. I think that's a great idea. Ramzi, for you, being based in UAE and India, what different challenges are you noticing while encountering feasibility and government policies, especially while prioritizing futuristic architecture?
Yes. So talking about futuristic architecture, I mean, in the UAE, like there's a strong push towards futuristic
Mm,
high-tech designs, supported by government initiatives, making the feasibility less of an issue. But the challenge here is ensuring that such architecture remains people-centered and sustainable in the long run. Like, so we have a 20 vision of Vision 2040, where futuristic architecture is not only possible but encouraged, making it easier to implement high-tech solutions. So the government supports these initiatives through technology, like they bring in, uh, you know, human scale or large scale 3D printers and other technological innovations from different parts of the world, and they encourage people to use it. Um, but in India, the hurdles are like often related to navigating complex regulations. Then there's budget constraints, and then different and priorities in urban development. The challenge is aligning futuristic architecture with the long-term sustainability and making it accessible to all economic segments.
right. Yeah, I think this is one point that would have been very good. We just didn't touch upon is government regulations in India and how kind of they affect the not just the design, but like design, sustainability, all aspects of public buildings. I think it's while government regulation is important, I think it's also a huge hindrance in certain cities and certain places. And I
Sure.
think we can discuss on that later on. But Srikanth, with your diverse expertise in the hospitality sector, what are some of the innovations that you've witnessed in the design of restaurants since the inception of your career?
Uh, since the inception of my career, I started off in 2005. to work as an architect in other firms, and later started off on our own with a group of architects as partners. But I've been constant in hospitality uh, design since the time I started my career. What remained the same, what pushed us towards innovating a lot of aspects, I can tell, but what remained the same since then to us is the necessity for hospitality spaces. Rather, I would say it is increased now. And what changed is the way people are perceiving hospitality spaces, are want they look for in hospitality spaces has changed drastically. I think because predominantly after so many restaurants that we've executed, I think since the time the other kind of spaces in one's life, other than hospitality spaces, yeah, residential spaces, workspaces, uh, these are two major categories that people utilize other than hospitality spaces. When these spaces have become industrial product, like quite industrialized, like a mass produced product, you see houses of similar types and flats of similar floor plans and offices of similar typology and similar building character, spatial character. There is a certain um, there's a certain blanket uniformity in people's life, right? They don't experience differential spatial character in their day-to-day life, either in their houses or in their, except for those privileged few who can hire architects to build their houses, and those privileged few who work in those offices which are very, very different from glass buildings. So when these people step out, when the larger segment of the crowd step out to say hotels, restaurants, they do seek a lot of differential character, spatial character experience. That is constantly, this aspect is constantly pushing boundaries for us to innovate a lot upon spatial character. Uh, Call it choice of material to spatial design. This aspect has been very, very crucial in innovating on these aspects in our studio. And I'm I think one more key aspect that drivers towards innovation, or which arises this necessity for hospitality spaces in urban areas in India especially, is lack of public spaces. I come from Hyderabad. I practice in Hyderabad. uh, if you are a person who wants to display your product, you're a product designer, you want to display a product, or there's a book reading club, or there's a cycling club who wants to catch up or meet. They know arenas, they know public spaces that are accessible in every part of the town, especially the new towns. The new town is all filled with these gated communities who are self-sufficient within them, and they don't come out. So there are no generic public spaces in city, and restaurants and hospitality spaces have become their go-to spaces for all these things. So it's these spaces have evolved from not just being places where you get to drink or eat, but they are now culturally bound with the city. And
Mm.
all these aspects have pushed us to innovate quite a bit upon these spaces, and we're really happy about what we are churning out in our studio.
Yeah, and it's great work.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that's very true
Thank you.
all across India, possibly. Even in Ahmedabad, we don't really see a lot of public spaces where you can, there are parks, but they are not really spaces where you can kind of sit and interact, not conducive to any sort of public interaction. Yeah, I think this has been great. Gopika, should we? Yes.
Yes. So that comes with the end of the individual question, but we have a question for Hiloni as well, because she has been moderating and she needs an individual session as well. So yeah, so like we had come across this project called Valankoni Ramat. which is a public space, and
Yeah.
you have used urban
Yeah.
furniture. So could you just share your journey, like how the process behind, designing that space, and about how you got into this field of urban furniture and parks?
So that space is sort of a children's playground in a school, but it is a community school. So it's a playground which is used by not just that school, but surrounding schools and surrounding communities as well. And the idea was to create a playground which was differently designed for kids to sort of spark creativity, spark innovation, and to make it with mostly recycled material, not completely, mostly recycled material to make sure it's sustainable, it's low budget because it was again a foundation school, low budget and kind of safe for kids to use. So we brought in a lot of interventions which can be used by kids of all ages, even adults, and a lot of it is through these principles of Montessori integrating. So again, how we use parametrics to kind of optimize spaces. We've optimized. So this is like a furniture level optimization where we have kind of used as less material as possible and try to get in recycled material and kind of integrate that in the optimization as well. So when these smaller researchers feed into the larger research at an architectural scale of grassroots sustainability.
Nice.
Yeah.
Uh, okay, so let's go to the question, individual question. While discussing technologies and urban development, we neglect the development of rural areas of India. How can we as an architect use these technology and innovations to uplift the rural parts? So this is a question from the audience. So we would like to know all of your perspective on this. Hello.
I think Srikanth, we can start on this.
Uh, Technology is aiding rural. Uh, how do they affect rural settlements in India? I think the question must not have arisen till now in any of the discourses only because of the challenges faced in terms of number of people living together in any place. That's the challenges of an urban setup are much higher, much complex, and much disturbing things happening in urban setups compared to less density, smaller settlements like rural setups. What I think is necessary in rural setup uh, is for better civic amenities, better living standards, than aid of technology to help get their things back, because it's much uh, cleaner, neater, and much less complicated setup of life there. What they lack in today is civic amenities and living standards, and I think a lot of thought and work has to go into making it better, and probably a lot of initiatives should be put into connecting them with rest of the world. Connecting them with rest of the world. I think that solves or that's appropriate as of now as we talk, because of mere fact that they're less in density, and urban setups do need a lot more attention um, with the technology and innovation. Yeah.
What about you, Ramzi? What do you think?
Yeah, I feel in terms of a local perspective, I feel modular housing is something which we could bring in these rural settlements. Like when we talk about rural, it could be to any extent. Like uh, um, so, uh, in order to advance in terms of architecture, in terms of time constraints, and I feel being more modular, getting more modular sort of construction will pave a lot of ways, and as Mr. Srikanth said, like the civic amenities has to be enhanced. Civic amenities is something which we still lack. So these things, um, I mean, construction definitely takes a lot of time in such areas. So how we can easy the ways to shorten the time. So probably we could build something out in a warehouse, get it here, implement it, and then people out there could use it. Even if it's housing, or even if it's public toilets, or these kind of amenities which we can provide them.
What about you, Vasudha?
I think with, where rural comes into picture, a lot of the number is important and the access becomes challenging and important. So I agree with, mass producing things and maybe a better assembly disassembly sort of a system where maybe they can be, like, people from those regions can be used for making it their own with their assembly, or some sort of customization that can, small customization that helps them connect with things. So these amenities and uh, can be kind of outreach till them through quick construction, through mass produced things, but some scope for customization which helps them. So now, because of
Yes.
the technology available, it's actually more possible, and the outreach is, in a way, easier because they also have more access now in terms of digital technology, right? I mean, it's picking up. It's a long way probably to go, but still we can see the gap reducing a bit in terms of at least digital awareness.
And Hiloni?
Yeah, I think rural areas possibly have a different set of challenge. So one is, I think, maybe a connection, but otherwise, do we even need these interventions over there? So the kind of interventions needed over there are a lot different. I think in terms
Yeah.
of like their, yeah, civic amenities, like Srikanth said, I think that's what they need instead of what we need in urban areas. And do we even need to change the, like, I think that should be a discourse. There should be some sort of representation from the rural communities to kind of facilitate this sort of discourse as well, because we are talking from a very different vantage point, living over years, having a very different perspective. So I think maybe some representation from rural communities would kind of integrate this better into the discussion.
Yes,
Yeah.
you're right. So thank you so much for this wonderful session, and we truly enjoyed it. I hope you also enjoyed at the same time. And let's make sure that we'll all get connected in some way in the future as well, in terms of discussion.
Sure.
Yeah.
Thank
Thank
you.
you
Thanks for
so
having
much.
us.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you
Today.
so much, guys. See you. Have a nice
Thanks.
day, guys. Bye.
Bye. Bye.